Nah, nah, nah. News 41. Nah, nah. And welcome to News 41 today, USSR edition. I am Victor Kozkov, and not with us right now. We have Nikita Dragovich and Vladimir Zenkov, not affiliated with Woburn Memorial High School.
Here we are, the Kremlin. I'm your boy Nikita. What's up? Normally I'd be in front of the camera, but I got kicked out, beat up because apparently I'm too loud. I'm way too amped up about this. Well, anyway, let's take a look inside.
Welcome. So today we're going to be going over the involvement of the USSR in the war. As us three being a couple of military leaders, we know from personal experience what we went through to decide and come up with some ideas. But overall, we're just talking about what happened. So we're going to cover some main points. First, we're going to explain the reason our beautiful homeland joined the war. And then we'll go on to talk about the economic conditions before, during, and after the war. Hey, can you not fart down there? Thanks.
My bad, dude.
That stinks. All right. What was the public opinion in your country before, during, and after the war? How did the war directly affect your country, or did it indirectly affect our country? Explain the military situation in the USSR before, during, and after the war. Who were some important people before, during, and after the war? Last but not least, we'll talk about some things our country personally had to do with the war and how it changed and affected the war. Okay. We should stop it. Let's see how it works.
So, Lieutenant, explain the reasoning behind the USSR joining World War II.
Oh, well, sorry, I wasn't paying attention there for a minute. Personally, I believe the USSR joined the war because just the betrayal of Hitler to Stalin, Originally, they had a non-aggression pact with Nazi Germany, and during the broke it. That's basically it. Yeah, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact was created on August 23rd, 1939. And for a couple of years, Germany and the Soviet Union kind of went together in forces, and they worked together to invade and split up Eastern European countries. And the USSR invaded Poland September 17th, 1939. But previously to that, the Germans invaded September 1st. Do you believe that?
No,
They didn't waste any
hard to
time.
believe.
But anyway, the Russians took control of the East. So, East. Well,
Never eat soggy waffles.
definitely. Not a good experience. But the Germans took the West, and they just kind of worked their way until they met in the middle. And then, like I said, 2 years later, in 1941, the Germans invaded Russia. And just from that point on, they never had a great connection. And because of that, the Russians actually took control. The Germans almost absolutely conquered Russia, actually. The Russians took a while before they realized what they had to do to stay alive. And many millions actually were killed. And after that, Russia decided to team up with the Allies because they knew that Germany wasn't somebody to befriend. So because of that, they joined the war.
Yeah, our colleague had a version.
He died. There was blood everywhere. It was terrible. It was bad.
Yeah, he's no longer with us. But
On a higher note,
moving on. Explain the economic condition of this fine country before, during, and after World War II.
well, before Stalin's implementation of his five-year plans, the USSR was in a state of depression. Congruent to the U.S.'s Great Depression, almost.
It's a nice vocab word to use there.
Thanks, man. But prior to World War II, when he implemented this series of five-year plans, first one was a total failure in 1932. I mean, it didn't get any worse, but didn't get any better. Both the economy and society were in serious strain. The second one, however, was somewhat successful, called for higher industrial growth. Steel, coal, chemicals, and military were priorities. Quantity was favored over quality, and Stalin gave his country false statistics about how they were doing to make them feel better and scare other countries. Not the wisest choice, but he still did it. But
Power move.
serious power move. But the only reason they were doing so good is because he was leading these mass purges, these mass arrests, these killings. And they were just killing off what was doing bad, so that made them look better. And he had these forced labor camps. Just whoever he arrested, he put them in a camp, and they had to work there. It was terrible, but it was the core of the Soviet economy. By 1939, the Gulag was the largest employer in Europe. Third plan, however, had way poor results. Did not meet any of what his expectations, which again worsened the economy. Let's see. During the war, the economy continued to better itself. After that third 5-year plan was a failure, he realized he had to get back to what he was doing before. He did. Priorities. There still were mass purges. There still were killing people. Killed a couple million, 10 million. But the Germans, they invaded. They targeted the Soviets' industrial centers. They just killed millions and millions of workers. Again, it sent the USSR into a more scrabbled economy. And that was bad for them. Didn't help at all. They lost 1/4 of the capital's
That's
capital.
a lot.
25%.
Yeah.
They lost a lot. Industrial, agricultural. They all fell way short of pre-war levels. But the Soviets, they received credits from other countries, the Allies, the countries they helped out. They also received reparations from Germany after the war. They were bad. Russia was bad, but Germany, they were worse. They used these reparations and credits to repair their economy, but Stalin didn't only use that. He also took money away from his people. Socialism. They used these in order to help themselves out. 1953, they were doing better. The reproduction of steel was 2 times greater than prior to the war, but the consumer goods and the food and stuff people just needed to survive was lower than it was in the 20s. So obviously, society wasn't doing good, but the economy was. Stalin continued his mass arrests, and he still executed civilians even after the war. That's all I have to say about the economy, man. Stick it to the man.
So, moreover, there were some negative and positive effects on the Soviet Union because of the war. Around 27 million civilians and military, there were casualties. They were very high, but there were also some positive things that happened because of the war as well. Most Eastern European countries were absolutely devastated and destroyed because of the war, and the USSR took advantage, and they set up a lot of communist governments, and they just started to grow and grow, and other European countries just became weaker and weaker, and they kind of took over, and they became a superpower, kind of like America. And military situation is kind of the same throughout, before, during, and after. The Soviet Union had this thing called the Red Army, and before the war, they defeated various internal enemies during the Russian Civil War. Various, yes. During the war, they became the major military force in Russia, and they helped defeat Nazi Germany, which is a pretty hard thing to do. I mean, Hitler's pretty.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good.
After the war, the army grew with the country, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And some of the important people, of course, everybody knows Vladimir Lenin. Yeah. He was the leader before the war started, and he was kind of the main guy. He actually survived a assassination attempt in 1918.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty tough guy. Then Stalin took over after him. He kind of was like a self-promoted leader, and he pretty much ran everything between 1928 until his death in 1953. He also was responsible for the purges, which killed millions and millions of people, which was pretty bad. Then after those two guys, a guy named Nikita Khrushchev took over, and he was the premier of the USSR between 1958 and 1964.
So, Lord Farquaad, what was the public opinion in your country before, during, and after the war?
Well, before the war, citizens were scared of Stalin because of his purges. They could not say anything bad about the country. They were still recovering from World War One. When the war started, no one really wanted to join the war, but they were kind of forced into it when Germany invaded them. They had no choice. And after the war, it's pretty much the same thing before the war. If you say something bad about Stalin or Russia, you're pretty much that's the last thing you're ever going to do.
Well,
This concludes our meeting for this evening. We thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed.
good night, and go Red Sox.
Boom!